At my daughter's naming ceremony, my father announced a different name. Can called me Sil. He then threatened to cut ties unless I changed her name to his choice. I, 31F, just finished baby naming ceremony for my newborn daughter. For some details, we'll tell about my father. So my father dumped my mom more than 3 times. He left me and my mom when I was in 2nd year of college. And I worked my butt off to get good grades and placed in a good company and earn good amount to support my mom. Eventually, I got placed in a good company and in a good position and earned good amount of money. When my husband, 31M, came for marriage proposal, arranged marriage, I came to know that he was off from a wealthy family. His father and his elder stepbrother are business CEOs. His biological elder sister, who is a lawyer and a loving stepmother and a teenage half-sister, and his is also a CEO of his own company. My mom was hesitant to accept the proposal, but my mill said she loves me and would like to be engaged with my husband. My mom told openly about my father to everyone in the family. Sure, after that they still accepted the proposal, and a week later I was engaged. And after a year I got married to my husband and went a 1-month honeymoon in Loch Shadweep, Ireland. When I was pregnant with my first child, my father came back, and for some months my mother's side relatives tried to make them together as a couple because they believe the divorce is not going to be okay in society when they are going to become grandparents. After that my dad visited me. I was not ready to connect with him or letting my first child, a son, to have a connection with him, but my husband said to give a chance to him. Eventually I gave a chance to him and talked to him. He was looking forward to my first child because he was excited to become a grandpa, and I just nodded, but I could tell he did not like my husband. At that time, I thought that things could get better, but until my father mentioned to keeping a name to my son, and I was angry about it. And we argued a lot. You see, me and my partner wanted to keep a name related to ocean or water, and we already had the ideas. After frequent arguments, my father decided to not come to my baby naming ceremony for my first child, and this became a great fight between me and my father over the phone that day. And he said that if he couldn't name my son, he won't come to the ceremony either. I got mad, so I cut the call and I acted off casual and named my son, as per me and my partner's wish now when I was pregnant with my daughter. My father demanded that he is going to keep the name for my second child, and my mom immediately argued to him that is our choice to keep. And today at the ceremony, where my father was present this time, he called out a name of his choice instead of the name we kept. I got mad, and after the ceremony, when all the guests are left, I asked him to come to my room, and I yelled at him for tell the name of his choice, rather than the name we kept. My father told me that I was selfish to keep the name of our choice, rather than the name he suggested. Obviously, the name was ugly, and I don't want my kid to be bullied at school for her name. And I just told him to get out of the room and went to my room and started to think if I was right. So Reddit, Ada here, Update 1. I tried to reply to all of you, but I couldn't, because I was busy with the manager of the ceremony hall to settle the remaining amount. So today afternoon, my father and mother left for their place, their home, and my husband was a bit mad about something. When I asked, he said that my father called him to talk in private. As he arrived, my father demanded to change our daughter name, and my husband refused and said that it was our choice to keep the name, and after whatever he had done to me and my mom, he doesn't have the rights to keep the name for our baby. For some details, back then when my mom was pregnant with me, my father refused to come my checkups and my mom begged to move and apply, say where her office is nearby. But my father refused to do that, and my mom quit her work because she couldn't handle the work stress during her pregnancy, and my father's aunt asked rudely to my mom why the heck she quit her work. When she said the reason to my father's aunt immediately told her to join her work, and my mom refused and packed her belonging to stay with my maternal grandparents. Obviously, my grandpa took care of all the expenses and therefore my mom during her pregnancy. When I was born, my paternal grandparents were disappointed. They expected the boy, instead I was born. So my father was also disappointed too. So eventually my husband had a heated argument with my father, which made their relationship even distant. And I am so disappointed by my father's act towards my husband. So later, after some hours later, I received a text from my both paternal grandparents and my father saying they were disappointed for not letting my father to keep a name for my daughter. And I didn't reply them back and just ignore the message. In the meantime, my son is hosting a toy tea party and a welcome party for my daughter with his toys and invited me, my husband's siblings, and his grandparents. So he's having a good time and enjoying himself and entertain his newborn sister with the toys he has. Update 2. A lot of you advised me to go NC with my father and his parents. I couldn't reply to all because I was busy getting off from my phone to relax and keep mind bit fresh and get out from the situation. Before telling the update, I want to clear something first. So a lot have called my mother's side relatives a lot of name, which I disagree, because from the day when my father abandoned me, so they helping us out both financially and in terms of support. When my father wanted to reconcile with me and my mom, a lot of my mom's relatives argued about this and told my mom to divorce him, but our elders said that less communication is the problem and told my mom to reconcile with my dad. My mom refused, but the sake for me and her grandchildren, she reconcile. I have taken a decision to go NC with my dad. After getting fresh up, I saw my 3-year-old son sitting and sleepy after he saw me, and he immediately ran, which would cause to fall, but I caught him, and he hugged me tightly and did not let go of me, and he ate breakfast with me. Before going NC with my father, I had to discuss with my mill, Phil, my husband, to take this decision. My mill agreed, but she told that the kids need to know who were their maternal grandpa, and for the sake of the kids, I should go NC with, but I told her if I go NC with him, he would probably worse his relationship with all of us, and she agreed. My Phil told it was my call to make, and my husband also agreed. And I have announced both of my father and mother family. Those side of family have separate group. I gave a detailed description. Only my father's family, my mom's family group, knew about what are the struggles we've been through. Some of my father's side relatives called me and demanded an explanation to go NC with my father, and I told what he had done in the past 20 years in my life. They argued to me that I am go NC with my father is wrong, which I gave a cold, stern reply to them, that they also failed to advise or warn to my father about what he has done to my mom and to me, and if they continue to talk like a piece of crap, I'm going to cut them off. They got irritated and hang up. Some distant relatives called me and apologized to me that they don't know what my mom and me had. They've been through and they thought I was doing well with my dad and asked if I could forgive them. I told them that I have to think about it and cut their call. My mom's side relative totally agreed with me, and I have talked to my mother about the divorce last night, and she said she didn't want to do it and she left him, and I asked what happened. Yeah, she said that my father told her to demand to me to change the name of the baby, and she refused. And my parents got into a good 2-hour heated argument, and my mom just left their home and told both my father and his parents that they were useless and a disappointment, and now my mom is staying in her apartment. I was happy that my mom is now to going to live peace when I got an unknown call. I attend the call, and it was my paternal grandparents. I immediately cut the call, and again, it was them. I decided to listen to them, and they argued to me about my decision of going NC with them, and I reminded them how disrespected my mom, and they were verbally abusive to my mom before I was born, and supported my father's choice of ruining my life, and we got in heat argument of whole 25 minutes, and I cut the call. I couldn't take any more, and I just lay down in my bed when I got another call. It was another unknown number call. I wasn't ready to attend any unknown calls. My phone rang continuously maybe 4 or 5 times, and in irritation, I attended the call, and it was my dad. I was about to cut his call when he said in strict tone that wanted to talk. I ignored him and cut the call, and he called me again, and I had no option that if I wouldn't attend his call, he will keep on calling me. So I attended his call, and he stated that he was disappointed and argued that I should not go NC with him. I argued that about his absence in my 20 years of my life. He never there when I was born. He was never there in my birthdays. He was never there to defend me from the bullying in school. He was never there when teachers and friends asked me where was my dad. He was never there for my engagement and my marriage. After hearing this, my father just simply cut the call. Maybe I think I shouldn't answered his call. I started to cry, and hearing my cry, my husband came to me, hugged me and comforted me, and my mill came after hearing my sobbing and hugged me and told everything is going to be all right. After this, my son came to our room to ask my mill to change the television channel because he is going to watch cartoon. My mill was watching Indian series, and after seeing me crying, he immediately hugged me and asked if I was healed, and I just nodded and he ran to see his cartoon. Now I am okay, and I am writing this post. I am going to cut off my father in my life and my kid's life too. Update 3. Everyone is sobbing mess now. I thought this would be the end if I cut off my father, but he bring up a big mess. So hi everyone, thank you for your support and a lot you said I made the right choice. Thank you for support my decision and understand my situation. And a lot had happened yesterday evening and today morning. Yesterday I have gone into deep thinking. I couldn't control my emotions, and I couldn't stop think if I took the right decision but to take this out my mind. My husband asked me if we could go out to take the situation out of mind. I said yes and went to a nice restaurant. He tried to distract me with many topics and with my favorite food, but I couldn't get distracted. And after we had our dinner, we went back to home and I just went to bed. Today morning, me and my husband were sitting in the balcony and talked about our school days till when he noticed a familiar figure and he went pale and rushed downstairs. I took a look and it was my husband's abusive biological mom standing in the entrance and started to walk towards our home. After some time, when I went down, I saw my husband sitting in couch feeling anxious and my mill comforting him and my father-in-law, sister-in-law, and brother-in-law arguing why, then my husband's bio mom. My sister-in-law, brother-in-law's wife, tried to calm him down. Somehow my husband's bio mom spotted me and saw our wedding photo, which was hanged in the wall, and she tried to reach out, not to talk but to slap. When she was about to slap, my Phil grabbed her wrist and stopped her from slapping me. He yelled at her to get out of the house. She demanded an explanation from him and the argument continued. So my husband grabbed my wrist and took me our room while he was sobbing. He immediately hugged me and started to cry because he couldn't control his emotions. When he was a preteen, his biological mom would abusive both physically and verbally to him and his biological sister. So when his bio sister got her periods, she couldn't take the beatings that she got from their bio mom, and my husband told his bio mom to beat him instead of his sister. He would end up pretty badly, and his sister would put medicine while crying. His father found out that his bio mom was abusive, both of them. He filed for a divorce and got both of their custody and married my current mill, who had a son. Later, she gave birth to his half-teenage sister. Now he is a sobbing mess, and now he fell asleep in bed, and my mill called me to come down immediately. When I came down, I saw someone who I thought to cut my contact with them. It was none other than my dad, his aunt, his parents. I immediately yelled them to leave the house, but when my husband's bio mom thanked my dad for telling about us, and then she left. I became pale and frozen. My mill asked if I was okay, and I couldn't believe the fact that my father helped my husband bio mom to find out where we were and cause a scene. Or adapt. Eat his dick. I yelled at father once again to get out, but his aunt tried to explain that it was a wrong decision to go, and we should talk out, but my still yelled at them to get out, and if they tried to come to visit again, there will be a restriction order against them. After a lot of loud yelling, my son came down, yawing, and called me. I carried him, and my father tried to call him, and my son screamed as loud as he can, because my father tried to snatch him from me, and I quickly took him to room and calmed him and laid him down, and just sat there, completely drowned in thoughts. And some time later, my mill came in and asked if both of them are okay. I said they are okay and told her to take some rest. I don't know if my own dad wanted to make this chaos and made all of us a sobbing mess. At some point, I feared for my children's safety and for their life if they have this relationship with their grandpa. I don't know what to do now. All I want is peace. Update 4. So we moved out, and my Phil said he doesn't want to get the restriction order, and he already found a home in another state and changed our phone numbers. I only gave my phone number to my mom, and now we moved in and settled everything in this state. The neighbors over here is friendly, and after my husband, who got trauma reaction, immediately consulted a therapist and started his therapy. Now, on to second story. Ex-husband's demands ruined our marriage, but now my grown children want me to revert back to my former self just to be invited to the wedding. I, 53F, have been divorced from my ex-husband Larry, 54 male, for 6 years. Larry and I have 2 adult children, Steve, 27M, and Carla, 25F. So Larry and I met in college when we were both electrical engineering students. We were both very much on the nerdy side and looked the part, but were very attracted to each other, so I thought anyway. We got married soon after we graduated and both worked as engineers, but after a few years, Larry decided he wanted to go to law school to become a patent lawyer. In order to look the lawyer part, Larry underwent a major glow-up during this time on pretty much all levels. Tailored clothes, fancy haircuts, designer accessories like watches, etc., along with working out to trade his dad bod for a lean gym bod. During this time, I was raising our small children, while taking care of about 95% of household matters, because of his long working hours, all while working full-time. I admit I did not glow up along with Larry. My own appearance has always been on the plainer side. I'm not overweight but a bit stocky, 5 feet 5 inches / 140 pounds. Simply cut hair, glasses, practical clothes, not much makeup. Larry loved me as is for about the first decade of our relationship, but after he started working as a lawyer, he started to become drawn to more conventionally attractive women and had several affairs. When I pressed for counseling, he said that the issues were things like my big nose and post-baby tummy pooch, not things I could fix with a simple makeover. I was getting organized to ask for a divorce when Carla was hit by a car while riding her bike. She survived and is fine now, but needed several years of intensive surgeries and rehab. In order to provide a unified front for Carla and Steve, Larry and I agreed to stay married and be as cordial as possible. He continued to see other women during this time, but by this time I was past trying to get him to be faithful. We did separate and divorce after Carla went off to college. Larry is remarried now to a much younger woman, 33F. In the past couple years, I have actually decided to focus more on myself, including my appearance. Now that my children are grown and out of the house and I don't have to worry about tiptoeing around a difficult husband, I finally have time and resources to do so. I didn't get a nose job or other plastic surgery like Larry had wanted, but I did update and color my hair, started working out more, lost about 15 pounds, got a new wardrobe, and actually started dating. I don't have a steady partner yet, but regularly go to age-appropriate singles events and go on dates. Unfortunately, my children detest the new me. In particular, they blame me for the divorce and are angry that I didn't glow up to accommodate. Larry saying I was too selfish and lazy to do so when it mattered. My son Steve is getting married soon and says he is too angry to invite me to the wedding. Carla has gone low contact with me. I had great relationships with both of them until I started my own glow-up process a couple years ago, which was a few years after Larry and I finalized our divorce. Steve and Carla have told me that the only way to fix this, the only thing that would be fair, is to go back to the way I was before, meaning stop coloring my hair, dress in my former plain/frumpy way, and stop dating. They say they are most upset about the dating and that it's not fair for me to be looking for a new partner. So Ada for everything I have done here, for not improving my appearance until after I got divorced. I really don't think Larry would have been faithful to me, no matter how much I twisted myself in knots. So I felt I did the best I could given the energy and resources I had. And, while it may seem selfish, I do believe I deserve to have my own life now. But I am open to other opinions if I have done something wrong here. Oop, I appreciate your perspective, but I think there may be some unfair conclusions here. First, where did I ever say I had no sex drive? Our sex life was fantastic for the first decade of our relationship, including after having 2 kids. It only diminished after he decided he had other attraction preferences as he started to rise in the lawyer ranks at his firm. And next, where did I ever say I didn't maintain my appearance? I did, in fact, maintain the appearance I did since college. I said we were both on the nerdy side. I maintained a healthy weight, even after kids, and always looked tidy and appropriate for the occasion. In my case, the occasion just happened to be my engineering job and my family/household responsibilities. I just didn't have high-end haircuts and designer clothes, etc. Was I a bit frumpy? Probably, as compared to a big firm lawyer W, if a $500 haircut and regular spa treatments. But I didn't let myself go by changing my appearance for the worse after marriage. Also, I don't think it's fair to say that I didn't improve myself in any capacity during our marriage. I advanced significantly in my career while keeping a warm and loving home, cooking healthy meals, and otherwise raising our kids. Those were my priorities, especially after Carla's accident. I don't think I got what I had coming just for not wanting painful and time-consuming plastic surgery, especially as one of the big things he wanted me to do was get a nose job when I was already perfectly happy with my nose. If he'd suggested some smaller changes, like updating my hairstyle and wardrobe or even a gym membership, and had broached the idea kindly and had given me time to do these things, I likely would have been more amenable. But as it was, he set the bar so high, surgery, that it didn't seem like I could reasonably make him happy. Update 1. While I do agree that the behavior of my adult children Steve and Carla has been extremely judgmental and unkind, to say the least, I am not ready to write them off. I realize that since they started in with their criticisms a couple years ago, when I started changing my appearance, I've been very defensive and dismissive. Perhaps that is justified, but as I do want to make every effort to maintain a good relationship with my children, I decided that it would be best to listen with an open mind. This doesn't mean I'm going to go back to my old frumpy appearance to accommodate them. Of course not. But just that I am open to hearing what is really bothering them so we can hopefully talk it out. When I contacted them both to request this, they agreed to have brunch with me this coming weekend, which is a good start. Perhaps the conversation won't change anything, but I'd always regret it if I didn't try. And listening is free. And many of the commenters felt that some info moves have been missing from my initial post. I thought I hit all the main points, but can fill in a bit more detail here. For about the first decade of my relationship with my ex-husband Larry, things were really wonderful, or at least I thought so. As I mentioned, we met in college as electrical engineering students who both had fairly plain and unfashionable appearances by conventional. Honestly, as a nerdy woman, I have always been much more attracted to nerdy-looking men than super polished ones. Just a better match for me, I guess. Larry seemed crazy about me from the get-go, and I was equally crazy about him. We graduated, both got good engineering jobs, bought a house, and started our family. We had very warm and loving home, lots of quality intimacy, and frequently hosted our equally nerdy friends for D&D and Anime nights. Then Larry decided he wanted to go to law school. Nothing really changed for the first couple years, but the law school career counselors advised him to spruce up his appearance when it was time to start applying for attorney jobs. So hence his own glow-up began. Though even after that, for his first couple years as a law firm associate, he jokingly referred to his new look as his silly lawyer costume and looked forward to coming him to change into his A9 t-shirts. So I didn't try to match his new appearance because A, he never asked me to, and B, initially it seems like it was just some sort of uniform for him that he was somewhat uncomfortable with. However, this all changed abruptly one night when I was supposed to accompany him to an awards dinner for his firm, knowing that it was a fancy thing and that I wasn't the best with fashion, etc. I actually went and got my hair and makeup professionally done and worked with a personal shopper to select what I thought was a flattering dress and shoes appropriate for the occasion. However, when Larry saw me in this getup, he suddenly got angry, made lipstick on a pig type comments, and threw out the insults about my nose and post-baby tummy pooch. I learned shortly afterwards that he'd started an affair with a colleague who happened to have a small, pert nose and flat stomach. Even after he was so mean, I was still hopeful that we could get counseling and work through this, but he didn't want to. I will admit I was paralyzed for a while and also didn't want to make any rash moves due to the impact on the kids, and perhaps I could have made better decisions there, but by the time I was ready, emotionally and logistically, to proceed with the divorce, Carla had her accident, and I had to shift gears to prioritizing her recovery. On another note, contrary to what some commenters assumed, my post-divorce glow-up had nothing to do with wanting to meet new men. Initially, it was precipitated by having a work-related opportunity to do more high-profile client-facing activities, and I received some gentle guidance from my supervisor that it would be a great time to update my appearance. A pioneer Giselle, hence the new hairstyle, wardrobe, makeup, manicures, etc. In addition, once I hit 50, my A1C started creeping up higher, as diabetes runs in my family. Although at 5 feet 5 inches and 140 pounds, I wasn't medically overweight, my doctor advised that losing just a few pounds, coupled with some dietary tweaks and changing up my exercise routine, would be a good idea. So I added yoga, Pilates, and strength training to the hiking and cycling I already did, and ended up losing about 15 pounds over the course of a year. I'd always been physically active, despite some commenters accusing me of being lazy. I just wasn't focused on sculpting my body to look a certain way, as opposed to general fitness. Once I slimmed down and updated my look, I did find myself getting a lot more attention from men. So I figured since I'd been single for a few years, I might as well lean into it and start dating. But again, that wasn't the initial reason. Some commenters asked if I'd spent family money on my makeover and if that might be what was making my children upset. And the answer to that is no. Larry and I divided our assets in the divorce. He got the big house we had lived in and paid me for my share, which allowed me to buy a much smaller house and have plenty left. Although as a law firm partner, he makes about 10x what I do, I did not request any alimony beyond my 50% of our assets, which had all been accumulated during the marriage.